Every time, I've got to carry it on.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the last Thetford Council Watch before the summer break, because the Town Council next month has a break, so there won't be anything to report on. So it's the 5th of August at the Bell Hotel. Volunteers who want to sit on the Council Watch who've had the role taken, we still don't have an oath in place, but the volunteers, thanks very much for turning up. Has anybody got any declarations of any disposable pecuniary interest on anything that's on the agenda? No, we're not going to make ourselves rich out of this, are we?
No, not at all.
Unlike some people allegedly.
Of course.
Apologies from absence then, I think we've got it from Alan.
Sean Stevens.
Sean Stevens. And Carl Taker and Alan, yeah.
Barbara.
And Barbara as well, yeah.
And Dennis.
Understandably, that time of the year can't make it, but we'll see them again, hopefully in October. The minutes from the last meeting have been written in by the secretary, and they're held. Anybody wants to see them can see them on LSB Film Productions, yeah?
Facebook.
And Facebook, on the Facebook page. Okay. Yeah, acoustics at the public questions. I was going to say, can everybody get a good firm grip of the microphone so that people can hear us tonight? However, we haven't got any microphones because Alan's not here, so just speak loudly. If the public ask a question, please speak loudly so the people at home can hear you. Thank you. At the last meeting, we spoke about the reason for the council watch, and I have spelled reason wrong on this for anybody who's looking at it. My mistake. Spell check let me down. We spoke about the reason for the council watch and the way ahead. And we spoke about why we formed and what we thought our future was. Now, in the light of the trouble that's occurred all over the country in the last few days, I like to think that this platform and platforms like them could well come in handy as some sort of arbitration when the public get upset with the council and the police.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think council watches up and down the country, if people are aware of them, they could potentially go to the council watch with gripes, and that could be stopped before it goes violent.
There's enough of them now, isn't there?
That's it. There's bad influences out there. People need to get to like this. It's got to be done. Otherwise, it's going to spiral out of control. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to say to everybody in Thetford.
That's the thing, because although now it's kicked off big time. It's good that they're now awake and they're aware of what's going down, but it's being channeled in direction, isn't it? And they need to be advised of who's actually stirring the pot.
Exactly. Fruit, fear into anger now.
Yeah.
And that's the bad kettle of fish, bad net of fish, that one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a lot of violence out there at the minute, but I personally think that the frustration is built up for that long.
Years.
Over the years, and it's coming out in the wrong way. But somebody's got to get in there, calm it down. No, the one thing I've noticed that the politicians are not saying anything to calm it down. They're just making it worse with threats. Yeah.
Well, it's something that someone said to me recently. Like Starmer. What he's done is he's gone up, stood behind his lectern, and rather than criticise knife crime, he's actually criticising the people that are protesting about knife crime. Yes. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And off the back of it, everyone is now a far right racist, and it's as we know, it's just a way of.
Well, he's coming guns blazing.
Yeah, it's a way of them avoiding the actual issue, isn't it? The actual issue.
Yeah, he's coming guns blazing and upset the apple cart. We knew he was going to do it, and obviously all this has kicked off. So.
Can I assure the public that this is not a far-right meeting?
Absolutely.
If anybody,
I am the most libertarian I know.
It's quite funny because everybody's getting tarnished with this tag the far right, and there's a lot of people who run YouTube channels in Liverpool that having a go saying, don't they realise this is the most left-wing city in the country, and Labour's calling us far right. So it just shows you the level of knowledge, stupidity and ignorance that these politicians have at the minute. And it looks like they don't want to identify what the problems potentially are. But if anybody's out there watching, especially in the local area, come and vent your frustrations at the Thetford Council Watch, get in touch with us, and we'll give you problems and solutions that we think will have an effect, especially if we have numbers. Any comments on that?
Yeah, got to have numbers.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
at the end of the day, you know, we don't mind doing it, but unless we've got backing,
Yeah,
we keep getting shut down by the council.
that's right. And that's what we need, more people there, don't we, to then show that, you know, like you mentioned, that like we did last year, didn't we, with the, you know, when everyone turned up.
Yeah,
We just need more numbers so they realise that the town isn't happy, so.
We've been at it for four and a half years now, and people are soon getting up now to jump off what the TV's saying, but we've been doing it 4.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's exactly this what we've just seen on the TV. We've been exposing this heavily,
Yeah.
at least for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
with the kicking off and how they're going to do it and
Yeah.
why they're doing it. So
That's the thing for people to realise. People that don't know who we are, or people that don't know what's going on in the background. This sort of thing we were screaming about four and a half years ago, and we were all told we were nuts. And now it's all coming to fruition. So there is a depth of knowledge within the Thetford Council Watch, not just on what's going on at the moment, but about law, legal, religions,
vibration,
history.
Yeah.
It's it.
So everything,
There's a
Yeah.
lot of knowledge on geopolitics and yeah.
Yeah, so especially in Thetford, if anybody's thinking about going out there and causing maximum trouble, come and speak to us first. Is there anybody in the audience want to say anything on it? Chris, what about yourself? Any thoughts on what we've said there?
No, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anything, Louise? No? Let's see where we all go now. We're on a roller coaster, aren't we?
Yeah, it won't be a long one, will it?
But the meeting the other night again, because we've got that much going on through the summer, we were a bit thin on the ground, but we did have quite a lot of questions being asked to the councillors. Now the first question that the councillors were given, as it says here, they were asked about if there was any problems with strangers within the town, no to MI5 and the local police, because what came out of the stabbing in Southport, basically I said to them I'd left Thetford during the week and people were getting stabbed on Abbey Farm, and as I left Liverpool, my mother and father at North Liverpool lived 10 minutes from where it happened. As I'm leaving there, people are getting stabbed there. In the middle of that, the army officer was stabbed nearly to death. So there's a lot of stabbing going on, but what we can best describe as strange people.
Yeah, there was one in there was an incident in Southend as well, where people were running around with machetes.
Yeah, the lady in Suffolk was killed.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, quite recently. Yeah, they were taking out the dog for a walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, she was stabbed. So basically, what I asked because there's quite a lot of new faces walking around Thetford at the minute. I don't know if you've noticed that. So I've asked the council if how many new people have been moved into the town. We'll have to follow that up. Are any of them known to the police to have problems? And I asked them if the people of Thetford were safe. I would say at that point they never really give us an answer, did they?
What a surprise.
Yeah, I think we were quite taken back with the question.
Yeah.
So that was the first question. The other question that they were asked, they were actually asked about what they thought of the opening of the Olympics, where there was quite a one-sided agenda pushed. And the question then was asked about the Pride Month that is pushed here with a flag. And the question was, you know, it's a whole month with a flag. And is there anything planned for the straight people and the family unit next year? That was the question from a member of the public. And again from the council there was problems.
Yeah, yeah. Basically because they haven't got an answer. They haven't got an answer because they're taking that order from further up the food chain.
Yeah.
Aren't they? The same as when Bury Council fly the Ukrainian flag.
Yeah.
They have no idea what that flag actually means.
Yeah.
And the politics behind it. and yet they fly it anyway. And it's the same with the,
They've done the Pride as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
yeah,
Because we said that to Cliff. Yeah, yeah.
and it's the same with the Pride thing as well.
Yeah.
They've got no idea of the depth of where it actually comes from, you know, and the worship of Baphomet and what have you. Those who are watching, go and research Baphomet. You know, there's little things like that. You come along to these meetings, you find out a little more than you thought you would.
Well, to me now, what's happening is instead of the councillors being there for the local people and pushing local things, they seem to be getting involved in all these obscure other political things, which they shouldn't be. Now, the other thing I think, and I need to do some research on it, is you're not allowed to put a flag up except for the union flag or your town type flag. We're not putting in planning permission. So if anybody sees any flags flying, the first thing you should do is go and ask the council, have they got planning permission for that flag? And if they haven't, they have to take it down.
Yeah, something that yeah, it just pops into my head from when we was in Hyde Park. We was there for the COVID things and what have you, and we just happened to be in Hyde Park at the same time as the Pride March. Don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And people from the Pride March would come over and say, well, what are you doing here? And we was there because it was about the way the government are going to be trying to suppress freedom of speech, freedom of movement and expression and what have you in the future. And it was starting to dawn on the people in the Pride March that they were going to be the first ones to be hit.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to express themselves the way they want to express themselves with the restrictions that we know are coming down the line.
Education everywhere.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Well, no, those two questions weren't answered. We received silence on them. Now, a member of the public who usually comes to this meeting, he then, and he was backed up by another member of the public, have sent in questions by email that have not been answered. The council denied having the email. Now, that turned into slightly a bit of a to and fro argument between the members of the public and the council, because the clerk was saying he hasn't got.
Was this the guy who was talking about the trees?
That's
Yeah,
it.
And
that
stuff?
was one,
Yeah.
and there was another character.
Right.
So that turned into a little bit of a dispute, which got, and that was not the Thetford Council Watch, that was other members of the public.
Yeah.
But those members of the public have brought copies of the emails with them, and
Yeah.
were willing to present them to the town clerk.
Uh-huh.
So the town clerk had to back down slightly.
Yeah. So basically, for the first three questions, they don't want to answer.
Or on the third question, they disputed getting that the emails exist, but the members of the public had the emails with them.
Brilliant.
So there's something going on
Yeah.
at the council level. Either the emails are being ignored, or they're being lost in the vastness of what the council bureaucracy gets involved with.
Yeah. Well, and
But
that
the members of the public were not happy.
yeah, and that's good because there's a member of the public here now that had the same experience as we've had, where he's asking questions of the council, and he's being told by the council, we're not discussing this with you because you're being vexatious.
That worked before.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons I went through a third party site, because going direct back and people were saying we didn't receive it, whereas going through that, I suppose
Yeah.
they have to respond.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, sir, what was your question?
It's about the climate emergency.
About the climate, right, so you're on the climate. And you did send an email in.
It's quite a few.
Can you send me a copy of that email? If I give you my email address later?
Yeah, there's quite a few.
That's okay, yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah, because what I'm doing now is I've got a file where I put all the unanswered emails in, and I just think the more that we can
Yeah.
stack up, and the more
Well,
that
they
we
answered them.
they answered them.
They answered them. Yeah,
Right,
so I
just
went through a third party
insufficiently.
site. Insufficiently.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I went through them, as opposed to.
Well, if we can have a look at if we have a look at the emails anyway, and we can add it to the way what you had ignored, or we can add it to the way we question. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you my email address. But they've then told you that you're vexatious and don't send any more.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
See, really, the council can't really do that. The council are not in a position to tell you to shut up.
They originally tried to say that by frequent reviews of information information request was invalid because I hadn't provided my full name, something for a third party site, so it was only Chris. Then when I eventually did, I was being vexatious.
Well, should you provided them with your full name,
Yeah.
Eventually,
and then you would accuse of being federal?
they're going on anything, can they?
Yeah.
And again, we've said it before in our council watch meetings, is that this isn't something that's unique to here. It's something that the councils up and down the country have been told to push away questions,
Yeah.
difficult questions.
Lana
The
Hicks.
councils up and down the country are just turning around to people and saying, you're being vexatious, we're not corresponding with you anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do then is I'll get in touch with NELC now. NELC are they're like the body that controls all the councils, advises the councils the best rules. I'm going to speak to NELC on the phone, send them a written letter, and find out what their thoughts is on councillors not answering anything under the banner of vexation.
Yeah.
Because that's
And as I've
ridiculous.
said previously, that NELC, when I contacted them, because the council then turned around and said, oh no, we're taking advice from NELC. I contacted NELC to say, why are you advising Thetford Town Council declares a climate crisis? Where's your evidence? And even they haven't got any evidence, even though they're advising the councils to do it.
Really?
Yeah, they have none.
Yeah.
None.
No.
Yeah.
Evidence whatsoever.
Sure, don't they? Yeah.
The same as the IPCC, Friends of the Earth, Extinction Rebellion, all of them. They're all advising councils to go ahead and do this, but they haven't actually got any of their own documentation to back their claim.
I'll tell you what, Bob, you make a note of that, and what we'll do is offline, we'll plan something again on that. We'll have
Yeah.
to plan on that, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to have to use that, yeah. If we won't talk about it too open and play our hand,
Yeah.
but we need to plan something on that. The other thing I've got on the questions from the public the other night is the very first question that was asked. I can't remember his name. He always speaks. He always talks, but usually about the allotments.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But he got up and spoke to the council this question, and we couldn't hear him.
Right.
You know, the thing is, you stand in front there, you speak to the council, you're not heard by those behind. You know, I don't know if you see what I do, and I think you do it now, Jeff.
Yeah.
We step to the side where we can speak to the public and the council and look at both,
That's right.
so that everybody can hear. I think this thing of standing at the front, we just can't hear behind them. We know the acoustics are terrible. So I'm going to push at the next meeting to try and find to get the council to have a standing area where we can see people's lips moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was the first question. We just never did.
The only good councillor that you can actually hear clearly is Jane James. She's the only one that makes the effort.
Yeah, because Jane has a big loud voice.
Yeah.
She's like me, copy.
Yeah, but she actually gets up, you know, so.
Use the mic.
Right, yeah.
There's a mic forward on the big table.
I would say Jane doesn't need a mic.
James, no offence.
Oh, that's a compliment. That's a compliment.
Yeah,
She's a good
that's it.
speaker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so what was, is anybody else, because I know you were there, have anybody got any questions about anything else that happened at the council meeting? I'm going to go through now the agenda items that they had.
I wasn't
Well,
there,
it's
so-
just, I mean, blatantly, Alan York, what's he, the clerk, whatever, trying to say that the emails hadn't come through, you know, so they just do not care about the people they should be representing, basically. There's just another sign, you know, they will lie, they will do anything as part of their job just to smooth things over,
Yeah,
or
it's-
get out of it or whatever.
It seems to be constant at every
It's
meeting
constant.
now, that people are asking about, you haven't answered the email, and they're saying we haven't got the email.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to keep our finger on the pulse of the
Definitely.
pressure on that.
Yeah.
Because again, I think that's the fact, they don't want to answer anything, and eventually when we keep complaining about the emails, they'll say it's vexatious, we're not going to talk to you
Yeah.
again.
And that's the thing, I think, is because they keep knocking everything back and not answering. I think they can kind of hope that we're going to go away, but we're not, and
No,
that's
no,
why
no.
we need to step things
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
challenge them more.
I think Jeremy's into double figures of unopened emails. Well, he might have opened them, but unreplied, let's say. So,
They've been too busy now in the dizzy corridors of the
yes,
tower.
yeah, the houses of horrors.
I do think we'll get more support down here and at the council meetings if they start to try and push this parking
Yeah.
fees
We're going to go into that.
thing out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, what I'm going to do now is just cover the agenda items that were spoken about by the council after the 15 minutes of questions from the public finished. in no particular order. They started to have a conversation about the charging for car parking. And the council are against it, but they didn't have any real answer. They spoke about Breckland's shop local plans. For those who don't know it, Breckland Council have always had this shop local initiative where they're trying to get people to go into the shops. However, by charging for parking, potentially, that's going to negate the shop local initiative. So it's a contradiction, you know. So I'll give the council their due. They spoke about that.
Maybe they should start talking about lowering the rents in the town so that people can actually afford to open shops that people want to visit.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, you've got a Labour were concerned about being ignored by Breckland when they were pushing these points. I wanted to stand up and say, now you know how we feel when you ignore us.
You had that thought as well, did
Because
you?
they are constantly now being ignored by Breckland, and
Exactly.
we're not happy about it.
Well, it's-
Perhaps Breckland finds them too vexatious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to give them some tips on how to get around the being ignored.
That's it, yeah, that's it. So you can do it, you can work together. Now look at us.
Fantastic.
Right, I was sitting there and I thought, right, if any of us were sitting around that table now, what would we now be suggesting about the oncoming car parking charges? And I thought, I'm going to go into that tonight. So I put down, what are the council watch suggestions for the charging of car parking in Thetford? Now I'm going to put down what I've got down here, Breckland and Corporation. The car parks are situated in Thetford and belong to us, the people of Thetford, the people who live here. Are we in good standing to advise the people, if we don't have a contract with Breckland's Corporation, don't pay?
Yeah, contracts.
That would be the way I would advise you. If they do bring car parking in, it's not like you're going to another town and somebody owns that bit of land and you're parking on the land and he's got a title. It's our land.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, if Breckland say no, it's our land, they're a corporation.
yeah,
Who said you, the corporation, could have Thetford land?
yeah.
Show me the paperwork. I know that's our land, we're parking on it and we're not taking part in your contract.
With our own money.
Yeah, so I would suggest to the people of Thetford,
They need to realise that the councils, the police, the courts and everything are all private enterprises.
all private enterprises.
They're all on company's house.
Yeah.
They are there to make money,
Yeah.
and they all need well, basically it's commerce, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what it
It's
is.
commerce. You know, you wouldn't go into a shop and you wouldn't go and get a service from any other provider without some kind of contract,
Yeah.
and that is the way forward with this.
Well, that was the thing is, again, we weren't allowed to get that in during the meeting because the 15 minutes were over, but I was sitting there musing and thinking, that's what I'll be saying to the people of Thetford, just don't pay.
The other
Yeah.
thing is that should it go ahead and people do park there and they get parking charge notices and stuff like that, the people in this room at the moment know how to deal with that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, in fact, just bring any charging paperwork to us and we'll sort it out.
and we'll,
That's it.
we'll
Yeah.
Turn up in
Show
good
you.
standing. And
show you the fraudulent sort of methods they use.
You want to say something?
I'm just fanning myself.
Just
yeah,
fanning
yeah,
yourself.
He's still after his black right
Yeah.
now.
yeah,
Yeah, for those on camera, we've got the cameraman there fanning himself. I thought he was trying to get me attention. No, yeah, the thing is, what we're going to have to educate the people is that if they don't pay
Yeah.
and they put up with a bit of fear, eventually what will happen is their data, i.e. the debt, will be sold by Breckland to another private debt collecting company, which they still don't have a contract with, and at that point you can just tell them to get lost, you're not paying. So I think Thetford Council Watch will somewhere down the line have to show people I'm not to live in fear.
steady that ship, that's
I'm
for
living
sure.
in own
Yeah.
sovereignty.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, you know, that one's rolling down the tracks. Again, they finished off that part of the agenda item by talking about, again, how they were very, very concerned about Brecon not speaking with them on the car parking charges. And I was going to get up and suggest that they speak to Mayor Khan in London as well. You know, he's having troubles as well as he with his car park.
I've just had a letter from him.
For being there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it all went a bit fast and furious then. I was trying to take notes. Now, my understanding is that Glebe Close, or an area of Glebe Close, has been offered to Thetford Town Council by Brecon.
Right.
I haven't been able to follow up on it. I don't know if it's the whole of Glebe Close, or is it...
Are you sure it's the other way around, where Thetford trying to sell a piece of land for about £2,000?
No, basically what's happening is if Thetford had been told by Brecon that it will cost them £60,000 to purchase that land, and the council seemed to think that it was a good deal for Thetford, but that £60,000 was a bit steep. At that point, I was going to suggest that they redirect the £30,000 from the climate change scam
Yes.
budget
Yeah.
into that if
Exactly.
it's a good deal. But I need to find out more about that. I haven't been able to follow up on that one. But they've got to find £60,000 to pay for the Glebe Close. I don't know if it's going to be the green areas, and we take control of the green areas and do things with them for the kids, or and get a chance to do them up or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Which brings it to there's a lady out in the foyer at the moment that actually brought up, she said she'd been out of town with her
Yeah.
grandchildren or whoever it was,
I'm standing.
on Stanton, and visited, and there were flower beds and there was everything lovely, and she said, I come back to Thetford, and her exact words were, back into this shithole, and they're spending 30 grand on a climate crisis when they should be investing it actually in the town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like picking up all the litter. Because there's too many volunteers. I mean, it's good that we've got the volunteers, but they shouldn't be needed if we're paying a premium service to corporations to do just that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But then, go on.
both of you. Okay.
But then also, when we was running for the council seats, I was asked that question, and the response I gave to that was that it's up to each and every individual in the first place, first of all, to not drop the litter,
Absolutely.
and if you live in an area and you want to keep it nice, then pick the bloody stuff up anyway.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't even need volunteers.
No.
Well, this is it. If it wasn't for the volunteers in town, and when I was a councillor, there was a lot of people volunteering. If it wasn't for the volunteers, the place would be a canal hole.
Yeah.
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 And you'd see the extent of what the high-level councils don't do. And don't forget, it's Circle who have all the contracts.
Ah, the same company that are housing
Yeah.
certain people.
Circle do everything.
Yes.
Circle inherit the wealth.
Yeah. Owned by
Yeah, that's it.
one of our royals.
I'm trying to explain that we've got a local hotelier who he ditched his contract with his bin collection because he's got business bin collections, and he got a cheaper deal, £300 a year, through going with the council. And I explained to him that the council is Circle, and Circle are using public money to in effect drive the prices down and people out of the market. So basically, when there's only Circle left with public money, allowing them to give a cheap deal to the hoteliers, and they're the only ones in town, they'll just put the price up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I keep trying to explain everybody to that, but nobody's listening. They're just going for short-term gain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend. I think we should recommend in the future in any meetings if it comes up, we take the 30,000 out of the climate change scam pot and put it back into stuff that's needed. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of dough, and it's 60 grand
And
for
it's still-
something that's sitting in Thetford, but Brecon owned it, and we're going to be paying for that.
Well, no, if there's something you want to say, don't get me because I haven't done my due diligence.
Right. Yeah. Let's be careful
There's
what we're saying.
potentially a good
Yeah.
deal to be had.
Yes. Right.
There's
But,
potentially a good deal to be had, but it's going to cost us 60 grand.
yeah. Well, and obviously, yeah, it makes sense. That doesn't even exist. Put it over to that if
And
it's a
then you
good
still
deal.
got to think to yourself that they're going to be purchasing a piece of land with public money
That's what I'm saying.
from a private company into another private company.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's disgusting.
Madness, isn't it?
That's, we should,
We can only you can only go one step at a time, though, can't you?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
You know, once people wake up to their own corporations and the money, yeah. The other thing they came up with, they were talking about books related to paedophilia being displayed in the library, and they had a conversation about that. But again, the way they spoke to each other, it wasn't, I couldn't follow what was being said, and I couldn't follow what the point was.
Right.
But they did have it on as an agenda item. I mean, did you pick up what they were saying?
No, you can never hear it. You know, the speakers were all over the place. I know the acoustics ain't too sharp in there, but yeah, it's again, they mumble between each other. They don't want to engage, you know.
It surprised me,
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't there, but it surprised me that they've actually brought that up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was quite fascinated. It did come
Yeah.
up, and they were speaking to, I think they were speaking to Norfolk about it and
Right.
keeping tabs on it. So they just, they put across, they'd started an agenda about it with Norfolk. But that's
Which
as
does
far
go
as
to
it's
show then that the pressure you're putting on them about it is going somewhere.
Well, we've got to
At the moment.
do something, can't we? I mean, you can't sit there and bloody allow something like that to be on the shelves. I mean, you wouldn't have got away with it even in the early 2000s. Definitely not the 90s and the 80s and done.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I suppose,
So
we'll
Yeah,
pick that
good.
one up. Pick
Yeah.
that up again in October.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
We had a bit of good news then.
Marvellous.
We had some good news. They were talking about the water levels in town. Speaking to all the local men, the water levels are high. So the first thing I thought is, that's great, there'll be no hole pipe ban this year.
Give it time.
yeah,
The other thing that came up was the Stanleyforth Trust. They had a conversation about that. The main, one of the main questions was, where's all the books? I don't know if you know about Stanleyforth Trust. But he bequeathed King's House to the town and a trust for the people of Thetford. Now, I've not seen the books. He's got that many books, old books, I believe, a fantastic collection of books. My point is, in speaking to another couple of ex-councillors, they're being left to rack and ruin.
I think there's paintings up there as well and all sorts of things, isn't there?
Now, the thing is, well, I did ask where are they, and I think he said they were in the cellar, didn't he?
have they been moved?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I think he said they were down in the cellar. So I think we're going to have to put pressure on that, because these books are going to be priceless in years to come. That being bequeathed to the town. But the town doesn't know about them. We're all that busy working, and in years to come it could be something
But are they still there?
that the town could
That's the
use.
thing.
But if they're just sitting in a basement with damp and
Oh,
condensation.
yeah.
Now don't forget, I'm going to go a bit conspiracy now. These old books will not be written like new books in new woke language. It'll be pure old style language of what really was going on, which I think would be good for the people at the time to see. Sometimes I think people want to get rid of these old books.
Oh,
you
most
know.
certainly. Been done before. History repeats.
So that's something you'll hear me kicking on about from now on. I'm going to do some diligence on what's happening with the books. So basically, they were the main agenda items spoken about by the council in the meeting. Has anybody
Well,
in the audience got any questions?
I was going to say, can we actually book in to then see, to actually visit these books, if they're in the cellar or wherever they are? Can we actually
Yes,
put
that's what
something
we're
forward?
gonna
Is that what's going to...
do. Yeah, I'm going to suggest.
Brilliant,
that we do
brilliant.
that, yeah. There's no questions on the agenda items from the, Jane, okay?
Roy's got one.
Roy, go on, speak slow.
On your car parks, is it not possible for someone to park their car, describing what they can do about it on an A4 sheet in your window? Just because money being spent on big paying a tax and fines.
So what you're saying there is park your car in the car park with a bit of paper explaining why you're not paying.
Why you shouldn't pay? So they know the reason.
But what you're saying is you're gonna park and dissent and educate at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I think. Well, that's one way of doing it.
yeah.
But
So most people got any doubts, if they've got any indication where they can go to read about it, they'll know why they get away with not paying.
Well, yeah. So what you're talking about there is when it happens, if it does happen, dissent and educate. Yeah, but we're gonna have to show people how to dissent though,
Yeah.
and not fear the dissent, if that makes sense. But I think that's a great
I
idea.
think once
Educate at the same
once
time.
they read it, Mark, it's going to be fairly obvious.
Yeah. there's a lot of concerned members of the public that are obviously against this and are prepared to get out through the town with the yellow boards as well, just to basically say no one's complying to this, we're not happy, you know.
But you've got to remember though, Thetford Town Council are on board with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Thetford Town Council allegedly are fighting it.
Mhm.
What can they do? Because some of them sit at the Brecklin level that's pushing it,
Yeah,
and some of them sit at the Norfolk County level that don't want you driving anyway. So, so you've got a bit of a, you've got a bit of a dispute which allegedly I think would mean they're not going to push too much on behalf of Thetford, and I think it will. It's going to be just to do an education program.
Ultimately, what they'll do is they'll follow the legislation and they'll follow the orders.
Yes.
And as much as they doth protest, it won't actually go anywhere. What they need is the bottom up
See,
education that we can give them.
Yeah.
so, I mean, yeah, I was going to wrap that up, but that's opened up a new angle for me there, what you said now. There's no way Thetford are going to stop, i.e. the council stop what's happening.
Yeah.
The only way it's going to stop is if the people
exactly.
Yeah,
bring
Yeah.
pressure to
yeah,
bear.
yeah,
Now, the people have got to bring pressure to bear at the Brecklin level.
yeah.
So
And
do we
again, it's
need,
unity, it's the numbers again.
so do we need to do a galvanise the people with
Yeah,
going around the doors,
Yeah.
get them to fill in names?
yeah, well, it brings,
And also give them an education sheet there and then. If
Yeah.
this does happen,
Yeah.
this is what you need to do if you still
Yeah.
disagree with it.
yeah, bringing the people
And please
together.
come to Thetford Council Box and we'll give you more information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we could hit it that way,
Yeah, it's good.
and then once we've been around, you know, so for example, we could get around as many people in Thetford as we can. And once we've got numbers signing names and addresses, I'm not happy with this, we could then take it to Brecklin.
yeah.
But it's
Do a
all,
little stall in the town centre,
Yeah.
pass us by.
I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's a good
But
one.
eventually, we're going to have to do something at the Brecklin level directly
Yeah,
without going through the council.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because the council
Yeah,
They're only going to do as they're told.
exactly.
can
That's
do
right.
it all.
The power of the whip.
Well, they're doing it, well, there's something else for us to do.
Yeah.
Busy times. Well, we're fighting everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
anybody in Thetford, stand by for people coming round your door with a questionnaire about car parking and potentially us, you know, we're going to have to take some information, aren't we, to get back in touch with them potentially. And will they want to give us their email address? Do you think they'd be prepared to go on there?
And honestly, I think it's up to them to make the move.
Yeah.
If people want something done,
Mhm.
they're going to have to make the move themselves.
Well,
They've got the perfect place here
Yeah.
to come. It's
we put this correlating the numbers though, Bob.
yeah. So we
How
can
are we calling
do
numbers?
that petition thing. We can tap on the door and say, look, this is what's going to happen in the town. You know, can you sign this or whatever? You know, give your details in protest against it, so that we can hand it to Brecklin. Right.
Yeah, we
But
put
then,
this though.
but then if people want something to change, they do have to get off their backsides and help do it themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Say we get 10,000 signatures.
Mhm.
But take them to Brecklin. Brecklin could say, well, you went up to Liverpool the weekend, you got most of them there.
Yeah.
You went down to Cornwall, you got most of them there. Who are these?
Yeah,
You know, I'm just thinking it through. Somebody would have to sign, print, and potentially
Oh,
put
yeah.
the address.
Yeah.
You re-
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they're going to have to give us some information.
That is what a petition's for anyway. They do need your name and address.
I think we should do that.
Well, it's got
Yeah.
to, it's got to be done because it gives you good standing to bloody go forward with it. You know, not that it should be like that, but
Yeah.
you know,
You know, that ultimately that is what a petition is.
yeah,
You know, but as we know from past experience, a lot of the time this stuff gets, you know, a petition is ultimately is begging, isn't it? You know, let's face it,
Yeah.
a petition is begging.
Yeah.
And what they'll do in the long run is they'll just brush it under the carpet like they have all the other stuff that's been put to them. The only way for them to actually stop what's going on is to actually get off their own backsides
Yeah.
and do something about themselves. For instance, I was down in, I was on the border of Devon and Cornwall recently, watching a game of rugby, and they're talking about increasing the fees to cross the Tamar Bridge.
Right.
And there was a guy going round complaining and doing a petition
Yeah.
about, right, we need so many signatures so we can hand it to the French company that now own the bridge,
Yeah.
that are putting the fees up. And I said, it's all very well putting your name on a piece of paper, but what do you think this company's going to do with it? What you need to do is blockade the bridge.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. And this guy said, oh, well, what about all the people that have got to go to work? I said, well, they have a choice then, don't they?
Exactly.
They either pay the fee or they do something about it.
Yeah. That's right.
A piece of paper and a signature on a piece of paper is begging.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not fans for petitions. You know, it's an easy way of going in.
Okay.
But at least it
something.
will send a message.
Exactly. You
Well,
know.
here's a suggestion then, yeah. What we're talking about was going around and galvanised support from the people against the car
Yeah.
park, yeah? And we've already come up with, we're going to take a petition round. What about, the suggestion is, why don't we take a I do not consent paperwork on it? I do not consent
Yeah.
to Brecon Council using our car parks to make money as a corporation.
Bundle them up.
Yeah.
I do not consent.
Yeah.
Especially when there's no
It's
shops in
100%.
Thetford worth spending the money to go and visit.
Well, yeah.
Because
No,
I think that I do not consent and the name
Yeah.
is going to be a lot more hit in between the eyes.
100%, definitely. No pussyfooting around, just
And then if we put under it, I do not consent to this, this, this and this, and I will be doing that's name, print, and that's my address. We're all in the army.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Let's
definitely.
see who's
Good stuff.
can sign up. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, that's stronger.
Yeah,
Stronger
it's
than a
stronger.
petition.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the last one for you lot to know then, the town clerk we got at the minute, who's officially the deputy clerk, Mr. York. Who's, well,
Dismissive.
yeah. Well, anyway, we're getting a new clerk. It's quite funny, I seen a lady who seemed to be sitting, yeah, she seemed to be looking at everything. She kept looking over at us when we were speaking. And I thought, oh, she's taking an interest here. It turns out that's the new clerk I found out. She was actually in there perusing what was going on. And I found out she's ex-army. So this should be interesting. You know, if she's ex-army, she'll know how to speak, she'll know how to communicate, she'll know how to control. I potentially think she'll know how to let things go for the benefit of, I'm going to let that go because it'll be calmer down. You know, I'm hoping she will, what's the posh word, gravitas, is it? I'm hoping she'll bring more gravitas to the meetings. Yeah, because I didn't see her tutting and shaking her head when we were performing the other night. So glasses are full with the new town clerk. Has anybody got any questions on anything we said? Any of the audience? I can't believe that lady who makes all the noise is so quiet tonight. Right, I've got down the ongoing conduct of the main Thetford Council. Thetford Town Council meeting still has permanent security.
Yeah, not needed.
And they're both there. So that is, so the people of Thetford know that is costing them £180 a meeting to employ. Now, what I did when the meeting went below the line, i.e. they were talking about confidential business stuff we have to leave. As we left, I got one of the main security guards and asked him what his terms of reference was, and he looked quite surprised. And I said, look, I know the boss of the company, I'll be asking him anyway. I said, but what's your terms of reference? And he didn't really know what to say. I said, I take it that you can only get involved in this chamber if there's violence. And he said, yes, that's right, yeah, only if there's violence. Then he started talking about the mayor, but if the mayor tells us, you got as far as that. And I said, look, if the mayor tells me or another member of the public to shut up and sit down, and we refuse to shut up and sit down, and there's no violence, I said, I put it to you that you've got no power to do anything. And he went quiet for a minute. And I said, I'm telling you, if you do anything, the common law constables will arrest you and take you to the police. He said, I can't do nothing unless there's violence.
But it's
So
never
that was
been.
the conversation that I had. So I think that will, you know, it's nice to know that further down the line when we have these meetings and if anything else happens. They can only get involved if there's violence.
Yeah.
So that just tells anybody in the public who's listening, no violence, security guards are then muted.
Yeah.
There never has been any violence.
Exactly. So there isn't going to be.
Actually on side, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the
Yeah.
last meeting I went to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was actually looking at the council in disbelief. at the
Yeah.
way they
Well,
were
the way
addressing the
Terry
public.
Land's speaking to
Yeah, if
his.
there's anybody new watching tonight, Councillor Land started threatening young Bob here about his question,
Take that.
getting quite irate and quite vicious, and I had to report Councillor Land to the security guards because I thought he was potentially going to go for Bob. And the security guard said to me, I know what you mean, I've got my eye on him, which I found hilarious.
I mean, I did feel really threatened.
Yeah. Like an alligator snapping turtle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the security guards, they're still there, and we've got the terms of reference. I'll confirm that with the owner anyway, yeah. Yeah, the ongoing conduct of the main Thetford Council, Terry Jeremy, who's now moved up a notch. He actually got interviewed, I don't know if you've read it, he got interviewed by an online magazine last month called Norfolk Bylands. Yeah, and I read it, so he was getting interviewed, I suppose, down the phone by Norfolk Bylines, and they put it on a site, and you can read it.
Is it East Anglia Bylines?
Is it East Anglia?
East Anglia Byline.
Those
Yeah,
horrendous,
We've got history with those.
sloppy journalists.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I was reading it, East Anglia Bylines, and I thought it was Norfolk, no mistake. And he was talking to Terry about Terry being promoted to MP, and Terry, you know, not the exact words I'm going to say, was sort of about being disappointed by the police not closing us down when we took over the meeting, when the Thetford Council took over the meeting. And I think now he's an MP, he thinks he might be able to try and get that sorted. But I'll give Anglia Bylines their due. As you're reading the narrative stopped with Terry, and he put a paragraph in where they went and spoke to Norfolk Constabulary. So Norfolk Constabulary said about that incident where we took over, we couldn't really do anything because there was no crime reported to us. So we know that when they came in, we said to them that there's no crime here, constables, they left. He then went back into the article with Terry, the interview with Terry. Terry then was speaking about, and we had to close the meeting for 40 minutes at the next one, and we phoned the police and they didn't turn up again. Again, Anglia Bylines then put a piece in saying, we spoke to Norfolk Constabulary about this, and Norfolk Constabulary told us that they, not staffing problems, due to operational problems, we couldn't turn up. Now, I took discourse at that because I thought that is wrong, and I need to speak with them about that because they know there was no crime being committed when the public took over the public building and spoke to the public to public in a public building. There's no crime. Now, the second time it got closed down for 40 minutes and the council phoned the police could not turn up because I put it to them, they know there was no crime being committed.
Exactly.
And that's why they didn't turn up.
Yeah.
It wasn't because
Operational.
of an operational. Now, if they had nothing to do that night, potentially they might have sent somebody down there to see that there was no crime going on. But I think they know there was no crime going on. So I just think the way that's being portrayed in Anglia Bylines
Disingenuous.
is disingenuous.
Sounds like a
Well, that
newspaper
sounds
to
like
me.
East Anglian Bylines to me.
Sounds like
Well,
a
I do
newspaper
speak,
to me.
I do plan to get in touch with them about that and try and find out if they want to come down and do an interview with us about that council.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Get
So-
it, get it credited.
Interesting.
That'll be interesting.
Interesting.
So stand by, so that was
Stand by your
Anglia
bets
Council.
on that.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the meeting, the mayor spoke about the 3-minute rule. And again, because of the way he speaks without clarity and not loud, I couldn't fully realise, I couldn't really take in what he was trying to say. And I felt that if I had a question him about it, that would have been my question, and not the question I wanted. So we have to let these things go because potentially they'll turn that on us. By saying to you, you've had your question. Well, that wasn't a question, that was just, you know, and then we end up in a big
It's having
barney.
more tussle.
He seemed to be, from what I could see, the chairman, i.e. the mayor, seemed to be announcing that the 3 minutes was in there. They would be bequeathing that to us. They don't have to give us the 3 minutes if they don't want to. That is the way I took the way he presented it to me.
Yeah,
Which, and my next point to get you in, I've got the chair, the councillors and the clerk still not understand procedures.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite funny you say that. You know that they're gifting us 3 minutes each to speak. It's like the you know, the myth that you are gifted your human rights, you are gifted your liberty, isn't it? It's the same thing. You know, whereas if you're in a public meeting, surely it should be the public deciding how long this conversation goes on
Exactly.
for.
It wouldn't.
And provided you don't get violent,
Yeah, we give you 3 minutes, but they don't answer the question.
which is true.
Don't
Yeah.
answer the
I
question.
will say that the 3 minutes does include interruptions from
Oh,
them.
of course.
Exactly.
So you could have 10 minutes if they interrupt about 20 times.
So, yeah.
See, I mean, you know, having been a bit of a closet politician for 8 years and studying everything, you look at the way, you know, in America they have the town hall. You know, we have public meetings. Now, if there's lots of people there and they all want to pontificate for a long time, you're never going to have the time. So the general rule seems to be 3 minutes. Now, within that 3 minutes, you know, you pad out your case, you do your what's it called, your
Preamble, yeah.
you do your preamble, and you finish with a hard-hitting question, but you've set it up. That seems to be the accepted method worldwide, I would say, on everything that everything I've studied. Now, if your preamble is going over the 3 minutes, it's down to the chairman to have the common sense to listen to what you're saying. And you can always tell when somebody's about to wrap up.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
Now, if you tell him his 3 minutes is up before he does his last sentence wrap up on his question, I would say you're an idiot, because that's a red flag to a bull, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's getting back to me that there's no common sense. I think we need to remind them again some way in a question. You've got to stick with this 3 minute rule is a preamble and a question.
Yeah.
It's not that there's no common sense, there's just no respect.
Yeah, and the thing is because that three minutes to them means they can get to the end of that 3 minutes and dismiss you and not listen to what you've got to say. That for me is what the 3 minutes is there for. Right, shut up. We're going to get on with our meeting.
But what I've got here is scared. They're scared of the public. They're scared of the public.
Yeah.
They're scared of our questions. They're scared of what's being said. They haven't got the confidence to come back with anything. Even if it's a case of, do you know what, I haven't got my finger on the pulse there, but I'm going to find out and get back to you at the next meeting. But, you know, there's no clarity, there's no confidence, and they just close you down.
I mean, they just
They make themselves look like fools, don't they?
That's what I was just going to say, yeah, they make themselves look gormless, don't they?
Yeah.
They don't want to say anything, because if they haven't got a proper answer or sound stupid, they'd rather say, no, we can't talk about it at this level. So it's, you know,
Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly it.
yeah.
But this fits in with the high level politics, because when you look at it, I mean, our council got 18% out of a possible 100. Yeah, out of all the votes, you've got, you know, Labour are in now as the main politicians for the country, with only what?
25,
20%?
20 odd. Yeah.
With the lowest turnout probably in history.
But what you've got is you've got people not answering questions, you've got people not listening to you, you've got people shutting you down. But basically they're in power based on a minimum amount of people behind
Yeah,
them.
that is not a democracy.
It's not, so I can only see it, the more they don't answer questions, I think it's going to get worse.
I think that's cool.
No,
No, I was going to say that's why it's kicking off countrywide now, isn't it? The powers that be have got in on an absolute bare minimum on vote count, if that is a true vote
Exactly.
count. And so the majority of the country that didn't vote for them, or possibly even didn't vote, are being left out of the loop. Yeah, that's what's happened. Democracy isn't about a vote. Democracy is about you wanting to live the life you lead for you in your own private capacity.
Again, I think this is why you've got all this conflict out there and all this violence.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people. I mean, I always knew the working class areas didn't like the Conservatives, but at the minute, Labour have declared war on the
Yeah.
working class.
So,
They have.
but then again, I would say we know, it doesn't matter who you vote for, they all are controlled by the corporations.
Absolutely.
Is there anything from anybody sitting in the audience want to say anything?
I was going to say to you, when you said you couldn't hear what someone was saying, get in touch with Carl, you've got my video. You might be able to hear on there.
No, it's not that we can't hear what we want to hear what he's saying in the meeting. Not retrospectively.
While the meeting was had, because you said you couldn't hear it properly.
Couldn't hear who?
Whoever he was talking about.
Yeah, but what
It means they're in
is that
person.
You can't hear him there and then. It's no, you know, you might be able to hear it on your video.
You couldn't have said nothing because it would have interfered with his speech.
Yeah, you can't hear what he's saying, and if you then start asking questions on about what you think you've said, that's your question gone, and it's not the question you want to ask you.
But you didn't hear what he said anyway.
But we know it's rubbish anyway.
They've been doing it too long, ain't they? You know, they don't want to be speaking up loud and clear and being under the microscope.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Chris, you got any finishing points, or
No.
bring a gang with you next time? Anybody from the ladies over there? No? I've just got a messaging. I've got a messaging of future council meetings. I do have a plan to get points over, even though we can't talk.
Okay.
And we need to discuss ways of getting our message across at the future meetings. Some good ideas are being proposed, but we will plan and talk about them offline. There is some good ideas
Okay.
to get messages out over and above what they're doing.
Does it involve rope and gaffer tape?
Well, it depends if we get older.
That's exactly it.
Right, and I've got the, like, if we're going to wash it up, then is, right, that's the future discussion. I'm suggesting how we're going to get messaging across
Yeah.
when they're closing down. I've got some good ideas. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, there is one thing that, you know, I mean, I'm not sure if anyone's aware of it, but I don't actually live in Thetford anymore. The reason I'm here is because of the amount of years I have spent in Thetford, and my family still live here, and my business is here, and what have you, so that's why I've got an interest. I actually live out of town now in a little village, and just to show people how things can very quickly escalate, it came to light last week in the village that Suffolk County Council are now cutting funding for buses, school buses, and so on in most of the villages around where I live. And during a meeting that was held about it in the village hall, there were people there in tears because the council and the bus companies are removing these people's lifelines. Old people, people that actually need to get to work and what have you. They're removing these people's lifelines by taking these buses out of circulation. And we're going back to what we were saying earlier on about speaking out 4.5 years ago. This was one of the things that was brought up at the time, that through Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, they will slowly try and remove your ability to move around, to take away private vehicle ownership, public transport, and so on. Start shutting down modes of transport, including airports and things like that. And this hopefully, what's happened in the village is a trigger to get people to start waking up to what's actually going on, because this is just the beginning. It's going to get a lot worse.
It is, yeah.
So
And at the end of the day, if we're going about these 15-minute cities and they're trying to get people out of their cars, the one thing that you would expect is better infrastructure when it comes to public.
But the thing is, the infrastructure they've got planned isn't for the likes of me living in my nice village. Living in a nice little village isn't for plebs like me. What they're trying to do is slowly move people from these rural areas into the bigger cities, into the bigger towns where they have control.
For your box with your headset.
And then that's where you'll work, that's where you'll feed, that's where you'll play. And so although it's a bad thing, it's a good thing that will hopefully wake people up.
Yeah.
So here's the thing then, so that's Suffolk wide, is it?
That is just in my local
We-
vicinity.
So that's the middle, like, it would be your version of Breckland.
No, less than that. That's like West Suffolk Council. Although it's Suffolk County Council instigated it.
Yeah, it's Suffolk County Council instigated,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So what they're doing is they're cutting off the money
yeah,
to the lower level council.
yeah.
the
And the
lower
bus
level-
companies are saying because of that, it's not now not worth our while running the
So the
buses.
bus companies have been subsidised,
Yeah,
so the bus companies now have to pay it themselves.
yeah.
Right, so the main thing we're talking about there, Bob, is money.
Mm,
What I would suggest to you all is find out how much money is being stopped
mm.
from the subsidies, and then find out how much those councils have put into their climate crisis scam pot.
Yes, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the people agitating on that, because, again, if so for example, if they've moved £30,000 into the climate scam pot,
Yeah,
and they're saying that they can't put the money into the rural buses because they've run out of money,
yeah,
people have got to see them and say to their councillors, why are you putting money into that rubbish? And you know, people have got to start to wake up that they don't want you travelling around.
yeah.
That's right.
They're going to think that, they're going to soon find that us tin hat wearing lunatic and spiritors.
I'm not as nuts. We're not as nuts as people think we are.
No, you know. Yeah, but don't find it, you know, follow
Yeah.
the money. Because the one thing we've got at the minute that we can say to the town council, and you know, they could shut the agenda down and everything and close us down from a question point of view. But because they've put £30,000 in the pot, that's something we can get our teeth into all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And that's what your lot could do, I feel, in Suffolk.
The other thing is, talking about the local problem here, they're talking about parking and stuff like that, and people having to pay for parking, and yet they're taking 30 grand out for the climate crisis hoax.
Yeah, but don't forget, it's two different levels of council.
It's two different levels, but it's still public money that's being taken out. They're taking it away from the public
Yeah.
and then charging the public to replace it.
Yeah, because it's two different levels, they'll fight you on that, but ultimately it's the same pot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, we want to scam. Oh, well, that's it then, yeah, we've got loads to do there. Thanks very much for everybody coming, and thanks lads for volunteering, and thanks for everybody listening at home. Hope we entertained you.
Yeah.